Welcome to the Week 5 recording for IS122. The reading this week in Farrell is Chapter 5, Looping, and in Smith, Chapter 5, Writing Programs Using Loops. The Week 5 discussion, the initial post is due Wednesday, 3 replies are due Sunday. Remember, the initial post must be at least 100 words and have at least one APA formatted reference with in-text citation. The topic this week: in programming, a loop is a sequence of instructions that repeats until a condition is reached. What are loops used for and why are they necessary? The Week 5 assignment is due Sunday. You're to create a simple program of your own using a loop that counts and displays numbers 1 through 10. Type it in Notepad++ or other text editor, and Notepad++ is free, so you could just download it. Run your program to verify that there are no errors and that you can see the output of your program. Capture a screenshot of the code and output of your program and paste it into a Word document. So take a screenshot of your code in Notepad++ and take a screenshot of the code there, because that way I can see all of the code. Sometimes when you type it in Broxy, it cuts part of it off. Then run the program in Broxy and take another screenshot and make sure you show the output. So the loop is used to repeat a task a set number of times. It has 3 parts. The variable declaration initializes the variable at the beginning of the loop to some value. This value is the starting point of the loop. And a lot of times they'll start it at 0, but it does not have to be at 0. It can be at another number. Then you have a condition. Decides whether the loop will continue running or not. While this condition is true, the loop will continue running. Once the condition becomes false, the loop will stop. The increment statement: the part of the loop that changes the value of the variable created in the variable declaration part of the loop. The increment statement is the part of the loop which will eventually stop the loop from running. And you always want to be able to stop your loop. And this is the output you're supposed to get from your program. It will be not like that, but it'll be going down vertical. So this is an example of the starting of the pseudocode for the program we're supposed to write. We're going to start the program. We're going to initialize the variable. You always want to initialize the variable. And in this case, we're going to set it to 1, because that's our beginning point. Then we have our condition. Our condition is, is that number less than or equal to 10. Once it reaches 10, then we want it to stop. So once the condition, then you have the code inside the loop, which is actually the increment of the variable. So if the condition is true, then you go around the loop. You update the counter. In other words, you add 1 to the number. Then you check the condition in. Again, once it's false, then you stop. So it's going to print every time it goes around. So the parts of your code that you need the class definition. This is an example, public class, and then this part where it says use for loop is, you can name that what you want, but you need to make sure you use the syntax for Java. And then we have these 2 curly brackets. They are on the outside of everything else. So this one will be here, and then the code will go between them. Then you have the made method, which is public static void main string args. That will come after this first bracket. Then you have the loop. So, and it has, you see it has its own set of brackets, and you have a for, this is a for loop, and here is your number, which is I. You're setting your number to an integer, and you're initializing it to 1. This is the check. Is I, which is your number, less than or equal to 10? And this is the counter changing. So we're incrementing the number I. And this is a shorthand for I plus 1. So then inside this group of brackets we have what happens. So this is part of the loop. Once it's gone past to check, incremented the number, then it will print out whatever I was. So the output you will get is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that. So this is basically the program you're going to write. I didn't do it exactly because I didn't want to, just give it away. So you need to figure out how it goes. Now the week 5 quiz is due on Sunday, may only be taken once. You need to know the following: an infinite loop, that's on page 19. Loop control variable, definite loop or counter controlled loop, those are the same thing. Those are on page 179. How is the loop control variable changed, and what is a counter? That's page 181. Oops, I put nested loop. It's supposed to be nested loop, outer loop, inner loop. What are each of those? And when you have a nested loop, each loop has its own loop control variable. So you have an inner loop control variable and an outer loop control variable. That's on page 185. For loop, or for statements also called, and step value, page 199. Pre-test loop, page 201. Know the programmer's responsibility, page 208. Know what defensive programming, validate data, and GIGO, page 209. Forcing a data item, page 211. The while loop, common mistakes that programmers make, and post-test loop, page 218. So you have a pre-test and a post-test. A loop control variable should always be initialized. And that's all for this week. The only thing I have left is the references for the pictures. Remember, you can subscribe to my highlights if you have the ebook. You go to the bookshelf online, sign in, and go to sharing, and then add my email, which is found in faculty information, and then you'll be able to see the highlights I've made on these pages. So once you do that, then you should know what all these things are. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, please let me know.